So I will call the special meeting of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7 o'clock, 7:01 actually. And does anybody have a flag? Or Kathy's checking. I have a tiny little one. Kathy's got a flag. Okay, so join me in the pledge. I always stand up. You don't have to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's a good thing we're not singing. Oh, here comes John. He's probably still finishing his pizza. You're muted, John, but you can stay muted. So, do we have any public input? Minute or two before we cut that off, just in case we unmute. No public input. Correspondence is all stuff that's part of the project discussion, so we can wait on that. And approval of meeting minutes for our regular meeting last week. So I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from December 8th, 2020.
Second that.
Roy seconds. Does anybody, I mean, you should have had time to read it. Does anybody have any input on that or any changes that need to be made?
I need to be moved to the absent column. I was not at the meeting last week.
Yeah. Anybody notice anything else? Okay, so we can vote. All in favor of the meeting minutes from December 8th?
Aye.
Aye. Dino needs to abstain.
I need to abstain.
John Menti needs to abstain. He was in Albany or someplace like that.
Albany.
Albany. So we're good with meeting minutes. So I know my computer just started making weird noises. It'll stop in a second. But now we can go into old business for our school projects. So we're going to start with a progress report.
Yes, Ken.
Yes, so for Johnson, we've installed the lines in the gym and a few coats of sealer. And then we're expecting the approved artwork for the B to come back either the end of the week or early next week. And then they'll finish that portion, sealing it with the couple coats and then putting on the wall pads. And then we'll get the bleachers installed to finish up the gym. We've installed the lobby vestibule glass, so that's completed. Basketball backboards were installed. The basketball fencing, the 10-foot high fencing between the basketball court and the playground was installed, completed. I think that's pretty much it for Rockwell. I mean, they were working on the curbs last week. They finished those up the following day on Wednesday and backfilled and got that roadway all processed and ready. So that's pretty much it for Johnson.
Hey, Ken,
Yep.
was the indication as far as whether earth movers can get some pavement on that connection between the the parking lot and the rear playground area?
They don't think they're going to be able to get it for this season.
Why?
Because of the storm and the plants closing.
They could pull from Stanford area if they had to, for the 2 or 3 loads that it takes. I think we got a health and safety issue, Ken. I think we expressed that to you last time, that, you know, we gotta be able to service. I don't know how you're gonna get kids out of the fire egress. You know, I don't know how you're gonna service anything without having something connected and paved. You know, I might be off base here, but you know, Bob, what's your feeling on that?
Even if we could put a base coat on there,
Right.
a binder coat, I mean, yeah.
I think we expressed that to you also last time, so I'm actually kind of surprised that they couldn't have pushed something down.
No, you did. You guys brought it up last week.
Yeah, I
Last
told
week.
them, about it, and they were trying to get it done, and they weren't able to get it done, and now they're up against the storm, and so I'll tell them again tomorrow.
But they got everything paved up to, like, I drove around Johnson the other day, and, you know, they did a nice job going around the backside, but that one, was it 100 yards, if that?
Yeah,
Like, they can't even throw it on a binder coat? Like,
yeah, it's about 3 loads of asphalt, if that. Oh, I mean,
and that was last week when I went up there. And it's, like I said, I drove on the other side. It looked fantastic. The teacher was looking at me like I was out of my mind because the basketball court and everything else, but it looked good up until that point. And I don't understand. They got to that point, like, to Roy's point, 3 more loads, you're done.
See, my feeling is if there was ever going to be a fire in that building, it'd be in the boiler room area,
Yeah,
right.
and that's the boiler room area.
yeah.
And
So-
and you gotta get kids out that entryway, out those stairs.
Yeah, it's you got to put something down. Can you put I don't know, what do you call that stuff? Stone dust or something like that?
Yeah, I'll talk to them tomorrow, see what they can do to make sure that it's flat and plowable and everything.
'Cause what's that stuff they put down sometimes previous to some paving projects where you have to drive on it a whole bunch of times and it just kind of gets all,
Processed stone.
yeah, can that,
It has processed now, Nancy. It's just, you know, it's muddy and sloppy through there.
yeah.
Yeah, they put that down. They were doing that 2 days before I drove around the backside. I watched them doing that. So they were grading it, but
But I think you really need to push for it, Ken and Jim. It's going to be an issue. I understand plants are closing down. We're having snow tomorrow, but it's going to be an issue. And we've got, you know, the rest of December, January, February, March, even April, where we can't have it be swampy and muddy and not passable by large vehicles if we had to get fire trucks in there. And like Bob said, plowing. So plowing is going to make a mess of it, but it's what we have to do.
Okay, I'll talk to them again tomorrow.
Okay, anything else you have on Johnson, Ken?
No, that was it for Johnson.
I have a question about Johnson.
Okay.
Hey, Ken, the foyer, you put the glass in, and it's going to stick above the ceiling tile or the wood ceiling. How's that going to look? That glass goes right up, that enclosure goes right up to the steel. So you're going to be above the ceiling. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'll take a look at that, Bob, to see what they showed for the wood ceiling in there against that. I'll take a look.
Yeah, it being the foyer, you know, aesthetics has gotta be a little bit better than just a raw ceiling like that.
Is that in the main entry?
Oh, as you come into the new main entry,
Mhm.
and that's that second entry that goes out to the back where the courtyard.
Right.
It was all wood when we walked around. Now it's all glass. It looks good, but the glass goes above the wood ceiling. So the wood ceiling's gonna come right up to the glass, and it's gonna look like, I don't know what it's gonna look like hell.
Yeah, it's supposed to be made to look like the glass is sliding by the wood.
Is the wood ceiling in, Bob? No.
You froze up.
Oh,
Either you froze up.
I was just asking, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is the wood ceiling in? Because when I went through this morning, it wasn't.
No.
Okay. I didn't notice, so I'll have to look.
Joe Collada, what did you say? It's supposed to look like,
Like the wood's supposed to come up to the glass, and then I can't watch my screen because it's backwards. And the glass is supposed to look like it's sliding by the wood.
okay. So that's kind of what Bob is saying, that the glass is going to be sort of above the wood.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that's how it's supposed to be.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, for Rockwell,
What, can I ask a Johnson question?
Sure.
So Ken, the stair, I think you call it stair 4. Are there any more issues there? Because we need that health room after the holidays.
right, they're gonna have that ready. They've got, he's got the nosings coming in. I'm pretty sure he said the 28th. So he's gonna be able to have that ready by the end of that week. The stair will be ready and open. And we've
Okay.
discussed if something happened where those nosings didn't come in, he would have to fix the top so that stair was usable.
Did they fix this, is it stair 1? The one that's just has concrete and then you go
That-
through.
That material is coming in at the end of this week. So as soon as that comes in, he's gonna be putting that on. He even said he'd probably start Monday on second shift if it comes in.
And my only other question, and I'm not sure if this is a punch list issue, but there are several places around the Johnson Amphitheater. I don't know if you guys saw it when you walked through the other day, where I don't know how to, I'm not a construction person. So the stair tread is like broken off. And Bob, you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's like it's damaged. And how do you fix that? Because isn't that a mold?
The concrete step chipped off, it broke off.
Yes,
Exactly
but
what you're talking about. The corner,
instead-
yeah, the corner broke off, yes.
In several spots, not just
Yes.
one.
Right, yes.
Right.
So how do you fix that? Because isn't it a mold or something? I don't know.
Yes, it
It
is.
would have to be a special epoxy repair that they would have to use, but I'll definitely address that with them tomorrow.
Because it's in several spots, Ken. It's on the main platform, but it's also on the stairs going down towards the playground. There are several spots where it's chipped. I'm
Okay.
calling it chipped.
Yeah, you're correct.
Is that a poured set of stairs or is that a prefab that was brought in and?
They're
They were
poured.
all cast in place
They're poured.
on
It
site.
didn't look like there was any aggregate in that part of the stair at all. It was just solid concrete, no aggregate at all.
I mean, there's aggregate in it, but probably because of the tooling, they've pushed it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that 1 inch or whatever it was, it broke off. There was no aggregate found in it. It was just the concrete.
Can I interject something? In the back there where Dr. Carver's talking about, you have the stairs and then you have the stone bleachers that face the playground. And Roy was talking about that fence that goes across the top, or the railing that goes across the top. We need that now more than ever, because I was told that Allison slipped off that. The principal slipped off that.
So here's
And
what
she thought it was the stairs and she went to go down.
we had some stair railing that was supposed to go in the front of Rockwell. And I just got verification today that QSR had that made, but they never had it made in time to bring out here. So I'm wondering if maybe that's a possibility of using that in that location. Obviously, Joe would have to take a look and see if he even wants to do something like that, or.
Yeah, we
I
can
think-
look into that.
I think Dr. Carver should look at it and see if that bit of
What-
detail
what-
would be good there.
Ken,
I'm-
are you talking about the one by Rockwell in the front there that we ended up going with the other fence?
Yeah, they have that metal railing that was gonna go there, that tube railing made, and it's, you know, it would either be a credit or we could use that material if that's suitable for that location.
I mean, it's really a design Joe question. I liked it, but I don't know if it fits in. Does it fit into that space?
Yeah, I'm not sure how long that railing was. I have to look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
if the
do.
committee wants a railing at the top of the seating, then we could do something like that. You could also do planters, which is not permanent.
Hey, Joe, was there a railing shown on the top of that seating area?
No, it's not required.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Right. And
because it's less than a 30-inch drop from each step, so it's not required. So it's supposed to be
Well-
made to sit on each
Well,
level.
Yeah.
That's,
It really, I think Allison didn't know it wasn't a staircase, but she's not. She's somebody else is going to make the same mistake. So
Yeah.
I want to be clear. So
I agree.
I'm not saying that. But first of all, I love those bleachers. I think they're really cool, like aesthetically, and they're a great learning space. But I think she didn't know. So if she didn't know, somebody else is likely to take a big, because the steps are they're deep.
Yeah, I think they're 12 inches each or something.
Yeah, and so you don't necessarily see it right away. So I can see where it could be a hazard for the general public. Like if somebody's there, which is going to happen when they open up those soccer fields. I can see where it could be a hazard. So I guess Bob's kind of right. Maybe we should see if we can put something there.
Were the other railings for the stair in place when that happened?
No, I don't
Okay.
remember
There's
seeing
no
that.
railings at all.
There's no railings.
Well, there's supposed to be railings for the stair portion.
Oh,
Well, see, here's a problem though, Joe. It goes across the front where the kids come out or the people come out of the stage
Yeah.
and they start to transition to the playground, or if they go into that arena area, someone's going to walk off the edge. And I understand because of the construction of it, it doesn't require it, but that's for an adult leg, not a child's leg.
Well, there's
That's a
supposed to
whole
be a
different-
stair portion of it and a seating portion.
there is.
The
Okay.
seating portion is the problem.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just to Bob's point. If you don't look carefully,
Right.
you don't see the differences in the height and the depth of the steps.
Right.
And I
Okay.
think that's what Allison did. I think I was there when she did it.
Right. So we could look at using the railing from Rockwell.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe next time you're around, we could go look at it.
Okay.
So Joe, what you're saying is there's supposed to be, because there's the stair and the sort of more bleacher seating.
Right.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a railing that goes down between the two of them?
Yes.
Okay,
And that's definitely not up yet.
right.
that's not there.
Right. So that the railings are supposed to define where the stair is versus where the seating is.
Right. And that in itself might help a lot.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we should look at it, with just getting a completed project first and then look at what we have to do.
Right.
and
And
then,
the other thing I've seen done when it's not being used is putting planters there at the top that are
Which
that
would
are
help.
movable. And when it's being used, you can roll them away or drag them away, depending on how big they are.
Right. Just another stupid question I have, and Bob and I were talking about this. Is there landscaping? I know you can't do it now, but is there landscaping going into like the area of the brick wall? Or is that something that we have to do? Do you know what Bob, you know what I'm talking about, right? We talked about whether,
Yeah, I was just seeing if Joe was.
oh, sorry.
I'm looking. I don't
Okay.
recall if there is. There was very little landscaping actually. On these
Because
projects.
it looks like a little planterish type area too.
We're gonna
It could be a great
have
project.
to probably redress that later.
Yeah, it could be a great kid project. It could be a great science project. They could grow
Right.
perennials in there or something. So I'm not asking for it. I just was curious.
Yeah, generally the security guidelines frown on any plantings that people can hide behind. But I'm looking to see if there's anything in the documents in that location. It just it's going to take me about 3 minutes to get
It's
this
okay. We can move
PDF
on,
open.
Nancy. I'm sorry. That's not, I can ask Joe later.
Nancy? Nance?
John,
So I don't know if this is the time to bring it up. Last week, Roy, myself, and Bob Geminero, we started to do a walk around Johnson. And, you know, the intent was to look at a punch list, but there was so many items there that that wouldn't even qualify to be on a punch list. And you know, some of these things I think need to be addressed. And Roy and Bob, please chime in whenever. But for example, as you go out that back vestibule towards the new seating area, on the roof area, there's no flashing and around the edge of the roof, and the roofing material is actually folded up over the roof, exposing raw wood. And that's one thing. Another thing, in the upstairs, where the big hallways join together upstairs, when they put the terrazzo tile in, they never even finished it filling into the wall. And you can see that the baseboard is on there, but there's a gap, probably 3/4 of an inch there, and there's pencils in there, there's dirt in there. I mean, that's not punch list, that's construction problems.
Right. I
And
agree.
there's so many of these other items like that. In the water fountains by the gymnasium entrance, you look at the left side of the fountains where the tile, some of the tiles are, you know, 1/2 to 3/4 inch off away from the actual fountain itself. You know, it's like they just arbitrarily cut tile, put it there that didn't fit. I mean,
No,
again,
that
not
was
punch
just
list.
it. We didn't even want to get into the punch list per se. That the punch list is a long way down the line from where we are now. You know, these are all construction items, and it just didn't seem like there's a lot of urgency. Though many of these items that we saw from 2 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago and 6 weeks ago, you know, and there's even more now. I mean, I see doors without locks on them. You know, all the locks are out of them. You got an exterior door, you know, on the back side there, doesn't even have a saddle on it. You can walk around the outside. The phenolic panels in some areas on the back aren't complete. I mean, it's just all construction items that aren't done yet. So, you know, it just doesn't seem that there's much urgency to get this stuff wrapped up. And I realize that there's a long list here, but I don't see much change happening from week to week. I agree, maybe inside, you know, taking care of those items, maybe that's happening, might be. But I mean, we walked through some of the interior spots on the classrooms, and it seems that every classroom either has a ceiling tile missing, a plug outlet isn't completed, a patchwork has to be done. It's not even at a point that you could even conceivably look at a punch list. The list is huge. So I have some concerns, Ken, and I'm just trying to make the rest of the commission aware of it. You know, I don't know how we're going to get this stuff done in a timely manner, because the time clock still keeps ticking away here. It was just like we asked you on this paving, you know, to start off with last week. This was a very important item. Nothing was done on that. And
Yeah, they
very
did.
concerned.
They had to put the curbs in last week. And
I realize that.
they
But-
poured the curbs, and then they
Well,
stripped
you know,
curbs, put the process then.
I realize,
So, I mean,
you know, a lot of
it's
these are part
taking
of the
time,
planning
but it's
process
getting
as far as getting stuff done. So, you know, we've been making you aware of this all the way along. We're already past the December date. You know, when is it going to get done? That's the question I have. Where is the schedule? You're showing me 95, 100% completed on these things. I could go through we could all walk through the building very quickly and see that many of these items aren't 100% complete. So, you know, either some of the payment should have been held up before they got to this point so that we could get these things complete. Every item, every room, every spot as you walk through there's an item that's not complete. That's part of the construction, not part of the punch list.
If I can just throw something in here, I'm not trying to throw fuel on the fire, but as the building manager, I need that roof intact. I need that curbing around the edge of the roof, because if we have any driving rain or snow,
No,
that wood's going to get wet. I'm going to get mold. I'm going to get all kinds of crap in there. So that roof has got to get tightened.
Well, and also looking at the schedule that we were given, a schedule to completion, you know, you've got dates in here of December 20th,
right.
which is right here. And I don't know if that stuff's going to be done. So what do we do?
So here's what we do. Roy, I hear what you're saying, that the pavement is unfortunate. Part of the problem is with us giving earth movers the change order, it became an excuse for them to be able to say, we want to leave this out so we don't destroy this and have to do it twice. So that's part of where that comes from. I'll speak to Eddie Killian tomorrow. We'll see what we can get done over there so that we can at least make it so that it's safe and passable. As far as the exposed roof on the back of the building there, that's an area where we were putting in that glass partition. We were putting in that vestibule space. So that's got to be finished up now, and it can be finished up now, and it will be. As far as, things that are tile around, drinking fountains, things of that nature, there's no question that a better job should have been done if we've got a tile that's 3/4 of an inch off of the drinking fountain. So we'll go through the building that we're getting ready to turn over now, and we'll get the subs out here and we'll get them to finish the work they've got to finish.
But I mean, Jim, you got an exterior door out in the back side of the building there. It doesn't even have a saddle on it. Never mind the fact that the doors haven't been painted. The door is not even installed correctly. I don't know where you go in this stuff. I just have a frustration level that we're just, the more we walk around, we just keep looking at the same things. Now I see all the doors, the locks are off. Bob doesn't have all the cameras operating. Some of the cameras aren't even installed. When is something going to get complete? That's what I'd like to know. Complete everything. 100%. That's what I want to hear. I mean, you could go in every one of the classrooms. There's a patch here, some caulking there, a ceiling tile there. There's an outlet here. Every single one. I don't know, and I'm really frustrated to the point that we shouldn't be paying you for a completed job. If you're paying any one of these guys, whether it's a tile or whether it's a painter or whoever it might be, is 100%. In my mind, it's not 100%.
Even the caulking around some of the exterior windows aren't even done.
It's not complete. The phenolic panels on the outside around some of those windows aren't complete. It's not 100% complete. It's not. Very frustrating. And Jim, I'll gladly come down anytime you want with a committee of part of our group to get down there. We'll make ourselves available 100% of the time if you'd like to walk through and see what we got.
Roy, listen, Roy, I have a lot of respect for you. I don't think that I need you to do that. I'll go take a walk through the building tomorrow. I'll look at some of these specific areas you're talking about, and we'll get back to you with answers as to when that work is going to be finished.
Because again, if we look back at the schedule that you gave us, you've got some stuff being done by the end of this week, which from what I'm hearing isn't going to happen. And then you've got other stuff that's going to be done by the end of December. And then you've got a complete turnover mid-January. And again, is that going to get done? And we don't see enough stuff getting done on a regular basis to think that's actually going to happen. And then we have to throw into it, our first significant snowfall is not 3 inches, but possibly a whole lot more than a foot. So, it's going to affect the roof. It's going to affect that whole driveway area. How are you even going to think about putting some, even a binder coat down with the temperatures being what they are, and if caulking around windows is not complete, how's that going to get done, et cetera?
Nancy, we had been approaching the punch list. We have been getting through the punch list items. I can tell you, I'll take a look at these specific areas and we'll get answers for you.
Hey, Jim, add one more thing to your list.
Sure.
Can we get the time clock for the parking lot activated? Because right now it's just straight on.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
You know, the
I've
time
had-
clocks, we asked for the lighting poles to be, refixed and, put the leveling bolts and what have you, and the caps and what have you, that's been going on for months. I don't think we're asking for a lot here, Jim.
I don't either. Some of that is related to who we're asking to get it done. And Roy, at the end of the day, if we have to go do it for him, we will.
And I don't mind. Maybe we're at that point. I mean, somehow it's very frustrating.
I don't,
These are some of the same items that we've noted all along, and the list just keeps getting longer. It's not getting shorter. I mean, we haven't even seen. I personally would like, both. Maybe both of you can send us over your punch list of items. From what we walked around last week, it wasn't even at a punch list state. There was way too many items that were open even to look at punch lists.
And I don't think we're at a punch list place right now. I think there's still too many construction things that need to be completed to really
Right.
list a lot of stuff. So, and a lot of what we're just talking about are actual construction items, getting paving done, et cetera, getting the roof done, getting that entryway and
Right.
field done.
Carolyn, as our owner's rep, what do you have to say about this?
I don't have an argument with anything you're bringing up. These are all directions that we talk about continually on Thursdays at the job meetings. These are, for the most part, items that have been raised in the walkthroughs that the architect and engineers have had. We keep harping on the schedule, and I agree that there is still, almost 2 years into this project, not enough urgency to complete.
And as our representative, are you expressing this to them and what are they responding?
They're the same thing that we're hearing at these meetings. We are continually expressing these issues and we are continually getting a yes, we will take care of it. And sometimes, just like at these meetings, we come back the next week and the same issues are still on the table. And one of them that's a good one is it's a small one. Roy brought it up, the straightening of the light poles at Johnson. That's been an agenda item probably since July. And
Ken, do you keep a list of
here's
these?
that they'll get to it.
They do, Dino, and they keep very detailed minutes because I go to every trailer meeting, pretty much. I mean, I miss a few here and there, but there are very detailed minutes, and it is discussed at almost weekly meetings.
So Ken, what do you do to light a fire under these guys?
and we have been going through punch list on both schools.
And are you happy with the progress?
No, of course not.
And what are you doing about it?
Again, it comes down to, we may be at the point, as Roy said, where we start to spend people's money. Very similar to what we had to do with Ferguson and QSR.
But are we holding them accountable for what they're supposed to be doing per contract or not? That's the question.
That's actually a good question,
That's
Dave.
reflected in the paper.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Contract, we've already confirmed this contract. Why aren't we getting our money's worth? And yes, I know we have the whole COVID and all that stuff, but enough's enough. We have, like Geraldine said, July to now, the damn light poles. You're talking about 50 bolts and washers and nuts. What? Why is it taking this long?
There is no good reason.
Okay.
No, because that's what I'm wondering, Jim. I mean, if when I see some of these items, contract items that are closed out at 100%, when I look at some of these now, I'm thinking, well, maybe we should have held it to 95% until every last item, including punch list items, are done. Because, you know, at this point, I know I'm going to start really scrutinizing where these dollars are going. And, you know, the only way it's going to happen is if we hold some money on this, because it's just not happening now, you know, to complete them. And I think you've gotten, you know, I think it's in a situation now that there's so many items on the list, you know, in my consideration of what I'm seeing, it's way beyond, you know, punch list.
Okay.
So
And that puts us as a building committee,
very awkward.
it puts us in a very awkward place as far as, you know, he handed us a schedule to completion last week. Are we supposed to, I mean, we're supposed to think that this is actually going to happen when you're telling us stuff's not happening? So, you know, how are we supposed to plan? Not only we as a building commission, and then looking in, you've gone past your contract date. How are people going to expect to be compensated going past the contract date? And then also, how is, you know, how are Dr. Carver and Bob and the rest of the Board of Ed supposed to deal with school being in session, school not being in session, et cetera? What's working, what areas working? You know, a couple of things that came up about needing certain areas, specifically at Johnson, after a certain date. And I haven't heard since we started anybody from and Ken or Jim say, yep, it's going to get done, and then find out it actually did get done. So how are we supposed to, you know, I'm looking at both the schedules. And I know you have site work and stuff going out on Johnson till April, but you've got, sorry, noise again, complete turnover, you know, mid-January. But the list is so long, I'm just seriously doubting. So what can you do to help with that? Get stuff done.
Well, listen,
Or,
and,
you know, we shouldn't be obligated to pay for that as far as extension of it.
you take a simple thing, Nancy, you take the gymnasium at Johnson. We're trying to get this space done. We're trying to get these areas done. We make a simple change, adding a letter to the floor. What's not understood in that simple change is we're pushing everybody else off after that. So it's not as if we're not attempting to get these spaces done for you. We are attempting to get all of these spaces done for you and turn all those spaces over on the dates that we've committed to on that schedule. We didn't get here solely by Rizzo's actions, but we're trying to get through all of this. And listen, I can't defend crooked light poles. I can't defend a piece of tile that doesn't meet the you know, a drink. I can't defend those things. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I am saying to you is, look, you deserve a better answer than okay, or we'll have to get back to you. But that's where we're at right now. You have specific concerns. The money is how we get punch list done. If there's something that's shown as 100%, then we probably shouldn't have it at 100% if there are questions about it.
That's exactly right, Jim. I agree with you 100%. That's kind of what I'm asking you to look at, just to walk through yourself, just with a visual. And I tell you, there isn't a single contractor in my mind that I could honestly say it's 100%. It's just extensive in my mind. So, you know, that would be my position, you know, from the building business side of it. I wouldn't go past 95%, no matter who it was. Just walk that. Never mind. There's just too many open items. You got to look at this.
Okay.
But can we give them maybe a list of importance? You know, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I really would like that flashing of the roof completed and tight. Because I don't know what this winter's going to bring.
That should be number one on the list for the past month of getting that done.
But the weather's been very cooperative, and
Yes.
that's.
I agree, Bob.
And even some of those exterior doors and the caulking and what have you, there's items where you can look right clear through from inside to outside. So, you know, we got to tighten up some of those. And find out why the door doesn't have a saddle on it in the back, and why, why these things weren't put in correctly.
So do we have a developed list of, we're going out there as volunteers in the building committee.
You know what?
We have a
John?
list that we're working off of?
We didn't even, no, we didn't, we're just walking through ourselves. We didn't even get
No,
it.
I know that, but I'm
I would love-
asking,
I
I'm
would love to see
asking
Joe's-
the
Joe's
team,
list. Joe and
not our
Ken.
team.
We have a
Their
punch
team.
list for both schools for areas that have been turned over.
John, tell you what, I'll bring my Perkins Eastman punch list on my next walkthrough that they did at my buildings.
Okay.
That,
So, but what Jim is saying is that they have a punch list for areas that have been turned over, but there's no list. I don't know if anyone's made a list of areas.
no,
that haven't been turned
I
over.
go off my contractors list, and Perkins Eastman has done some great stuff for me in the past, and they have a great punch list. I'll bring that with me, and we can use that.
But hey, Dave, and also Jim, and just a question. I mean, I'm concerned even when I walked through the media center, we were sitting there just discussing things, and we're looking up at the ceiling, and the blinds aren't, hooked up yet. And there's areas between the blinds and the upper ceiling area that are just, raw sheetrock and not finished at all. So it's almost like when you sit down, you look up at different areas that you don't see sitting down. So these are areas that were already turned over. And, that also has me concerned. So, we didn't spend a lot of time in each room, but, many of these areas were all turned over. I'm hoping that we still have items, that these items were listed there, because there was quite a few items that we saw, and those were punch list items, agreed on that. But, these items were turned over months ago. They're still not complete. If they're even on the list.
Right.
Do you all have copies of the Perkins punch list for the occupied spaces?
No.
Oh, well, Geraldine, we have it, right? I have it.
I thought they were emailed,
We have it, yes.
Yeah.
but I thought they were emailed to us, or they might be working on the shared drive. I'm trying to remember.
So
Maybe.
Well, then if the punch list for the people that are running the job for us that are getting paid, if the list is that long, we shouldn't be approving payments. It's very simple. This is not complicated. I mean, I've never seen a list, but somebody's got to come up and say, hey, listen, and I don't know if it's you, Joe, I don't know if it's you, Geraldine, we're just volunteers here. But the people that are getting paid to run the job should be our first defense. And us as volunteers, we're supposed to come in last.
That's kind of what, exactly.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then when we're approving payments for things, if we're not discussing this list, it sounds like the stuff that Roy went out is all new stuff that nobody knew about. And
I don't know. It might be on the list, John. I don't know.
no, but I'm saying we haven't seen the list.
Yeah.
When we did the police station, the architect did the first punch list, right? Then the construction manager did the second and added to that. And then us as a committee went third and added to the first two.
I forwarded what I've gotten from Rizzo to Nancy and Geraldine, the latest version of it. And I guess the question I have is, I don't think, Joe, have you punch list the new areas?
I don't.
Dr. Carver, I'm not even talking about a punch list. I'm talking about the things we're talking about tonight.
No, I know, that's my point.
Somebody's list.
My
Even
point.
as a construction list. I don't know, whatever you call it.
Yeah, that's my point. I don't know. I don't even know. Joe, have you been over to those new areas?
I haven't punch listed the gym, the platforms, and those
Yeah.
associated spaces, the health classroom.
So I think, yeah, I
The
think there's,
corridors around those spaces have not been punch listed, any of the storage spaces, so.
All right,
John, I guess I'm agreeing with you.
How-
It's
How about the exterior?
the base construction plus whatever needs to be fixed.
Right, so,
I-
so what I'm saying is we come up with a list and maybe we tag it minor stuff P as punch list and C for construction. I don't know.
That
But
could take
This
that
is
could take all
approved
day,
meeting
John.
tonight. We should be working off of something.
yeah,
John,
but
John, there's so much stuff that has to be done. You've got
My-
the
Hey,
outlet, the electrical outlets over in the media center at Johnson. There's so much stuff before we
Well,
can think about a punch list.
I guess, I guess I missed some meetings. I missed quite a few meetings, but
It's okay.
there should be a list that we should be working off of.
Right, and we don't have to call it a punch list.
No, and it doesn't have to be called a punch list. It should be a list.
Right, and so there needs to be a list, does anybody have some kind of master list of major items, minor items, everything that's not complete, that needs to be completed so it can be addressed, or are those things that are flying under somebody's radar and they're never going to be addressed?
We have punch lists for every area that has been turned over from Joe that we've been working off of. Exterior and interior.
And then do you also have a list of what's not done and making sure all that gets done too?
We're working off some internal lists, yes.
And do those lists that you're working off include the things that people have brought up this evening?
Yes.
Everything?
Just, I got to look at the tile that was brought up. That one, I'm not sure why that wasn't done, but yeah, there's a few things that were mentioned that I have to check out.
Hey, Joe, did you do the exterior punch list?
I did a walk around the portions that were turned over and the gym area, but I have to still do the complete gym area.
how about the rest of the addition, the immediate center and what have you?
Yeah, we've done that one. We did a partial back in March, we did partial in August, and I did one more recently.
The list I just forwarded to you also of the occupied spaces also includes what Rizzo is saying is closed. So
If it says the media center is closed, I'm gonna have.
no. I mean by item that Joe lists. So
Okay.
you'll see it. I just forwarded it to Nancy, and I'm sure she can forward it to the whole committee. And that the last one I have, Ken, is from December 4th.
Okay, I saw it come in the email and I can send
I-
everyone. And that's, Christine, you're saying it was from December 4th, what you sent, yeah. Okay. You're muted again.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I've been on Zoom all day. That's the last time that Matt from Rizzo sent it to me. But I can just shoot him an email right now. I want an updated list. And he usually turns it around pretty quick. But I just wanted you to know that that's what Geraldine, you've seen it, that they put that if they close it out.
Okay,
Last Friday, we emailed everybody a separate email for all their open items. So we'll attach funds to it and tell them that we are going to withhold their funds or have it done by others starting next week.
Yeah, I think that's got to be done.
so you're saying, Ken, you emailed all the subs?
Yeah, we just sorted by subcontractors so that they didn't have to, what happens if you send them the whole punch list, they don't go through it carefully. If we sort it and send it to them, they just see their items and you have better luck getting them to go there and finish it off. It's the hardest part is getting them to say what they've done. So you have to constantly go back and hundreds of rooms looking to see It's a lot more productive if they can just fill it out and send it back to you as far as where they completed the items, but.
Are you
we'll-
finding, Ken or Jim, are you finding with any of the subs, if they do need to come back to either do punch list items or you have a list of things, are they waiting till they have a whole big, let's go spend a day there list and to get stuff done? Have you had any of that happen, or are they showing up and getting stuff done? That's a question.
A lot of them get the punch list and go in and do all the items that they agree with. Anything that could be a gray area, we'll have to, decide if there was a mistake in a responsibility, or if it really was theirs and they just, for some reason, don't feel like it's theirs. So there's a lot of that happens in the course of going through, us finding items that are still open, why, somebody thinks that their work was installed properly and that it shouldn't be theirs to fix. The items, there's several of them like that we have to go through and, have separate calls and meetings with these contractors to tell them that they can't ignore it. It's theirs, it has to get done, or we're gonna have to end up doing it for them. And I guess we're at that point now.
So we were just doing a whole big discussion on Johnson. Do we have anything on Rockwell that?
For work that is ongoing or just recently completed, we've got the stage wood flooring stage wood flooring at Johnson at Rockwell installed. The acoustical wall panels are now completed. The prepping and the moisture mitigation leveling has started. The interior aluminum storefront at the bus canopy was just installed, and they're doing the high beams in that area tonight for they're spraying the insulation on the exterior beams. And then they did sidewalks today at the boiler room. There's an extension sidewalk that was added there. They finished up the loading dock sidewalk and the playground sidewalk. And then the roof duct installation had a crew here today. So I didn't get up there to see how far they got, but I was told that the insulation is now around all of the ductwork, and that insulation is waterproof, so they'll just be putting on jacketing. And that's it for Rockwell.
So Rockwell, the only thing we have to worry about is the jacketing for the existing insulation and refurbished ductwork.
Correct.
Okay. Question, because I don't know, I'm asking. The insulation they put on, is that going to be waterproof enough for the impending snowstorm and melt or thaw? We know. I'm not expecting you to know that 100%, but could you please find out? So
Yeah, we'll check it tomorrow too as well.
Ken, what?
I just don't want to, end up having a lot of good work go to waste for nothing.
Correct.
What happened with the and Geraldine, I should have asked you this on the phone earlier today. What happened with the Laura Basile request at Rockwell for the closing of the ceilings? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, she was looking for some walls to be sealed. I have not seen, she was going to provide a list of locations. Ken, did she contact you about that?
I don't have an email from her. I mean, we did put some ceiling tiles in. They were doing that this morning in that special ed hallway. So I'm just not sure where her concerns were.
So I'll listen, she's buried with COVID right now, as am I. So I will check in with her and make sure you get the list, but I thought Ted knew where it was because she walked
Yeah,
around.
Dr. Carr, I think we have enough of a description of the
Yeah,
area she was concerned with, so we can make sure that there wasn't extensive. There was some conduit, there was some
right.
guidance area, there was some in the cafeteria. So we can take care of whatever we think might have been her concern. We can make sure that gets done.
And I'll definitely follow up with her on an email because because I know she was, and just for the committees, it was areas where mice could get through.
And there was already evidence that rodents had been in, and she did have Tom Galliford with her.
Right.
So if you have any concerns, because I agree, Laura is buried with COVID-related health issues. But if you have any questions on where they had a ladder, and it was Tom that did all the climbing. So if you have any issues, I'm sure he can clarify for you the locations.
Right.
Any other questions on Rockwell? Again, looking at your schedule where you've got some dates called out to turn things over, you're still saying you can stay with that schedule?
Yeah, I believe so. There's a couple items that I may have put on too soon that are change order related because we just got the proposals in, which evidently won't happen at the end of this month. But with earth movers, if it was approved, it's very possible that it could. The piers I'm talking about, like at the chiller for the sound panels, think there's a few items on here that right now I'm working on to make happen, and most of the items are from QSR.
Is there anything at either school that the snowstorm that's coming up, which is supposed to dump a lot of snow on us, is going to end up then being like the roof at Rockwell? Are things going to have to get redone? Is there going to have to be snow removal so they can finish some things, et cetera?
There's two areas, Nancy, the paving at Johnson, that roadway, and then the paving at Rockwell, that entrance there. That's another area where we've been having conversations with earth movers to get something in there for you for the winter. They've got the binder down so you have an entrance, but they're starting to work on moving the curbs over. So as far as the roof at Rockwell, and Ken will confirm it, it's got the waterproofing on it. It doesn't have the steel jacket on it, so that shouldn't be a concern snow-wise. We'll confirm that first thing in the morning. But if we do get the foot of snow they're talking about, there may be some items on the roof there that are going to be an issue for sure.
What kind of issue?
You've got some additional coping material to do. They have an expansion joint to finish up that they've got to get to. So there's a couple of items up there that I could see if there's a foot of snow there, it's going to slow them down.
Slow them down, not cause problems like inside the building. We're not going to have leaking. We're not going to have. Are they going to be there tomorrow to try to do something?
So where would the expansion joint be? I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out on top of Rockwell where that would be.
If you see where the second story picks up over the cafeteria and that entire wall there at one point was an old expansion joint. It no longer is, but they've got a detail to fill that, and they were working on that, I believe, today, Ken, if not.
Is that flashing from the roof up to the existing wall, or is that something completely different? I'm trying to think now.
Yeah, the area is where it's actually the expansion joint was at the first floor roof.
Okay.
Between the roof and the building was fine. It's that expansion joint where it's just a single story roof.
The hot tar roofing used to have expansion joints a lot closer than what's required now.
Okay.
They basically threw them in every 50 feet or so on a roof.
Right. So there's no rubber membrane over that expansion joint right now? Again, I'm just asking because I don't know.
There is, it's sealed.
Okay.
Hey, Jim? Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, Bob.
I have one concern at Rockwell, the boilers, remember the vents, the breather vents?
That's a northeast wind, so yes, that's going to be a problem. So we'll have to do something on that in the morning.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out on the inside. If any water starts coming in, I'll definitely let you know.
Okay, we'll see what Action Air can come up with us, some sort of temporary guard to put over the top of it.
Can I just ask what that is you're talking about, Bob? I'm sorry. Is it fresh air intake?
Yeah, well, it's actually the exhaust. What happens is if you get that wind blowing from that direction, it blows it back in and then comes out at its lowest in the ductwork, which happens to be right over the boiler.
Okay, thank you.
Is that something that's going to be remedied in the future?
I'll have to look. It looks like a spot where there should have been some sort of a gooseneck to turn the exhaust down and not to the wind. Right now, it looks like a finished end of the exhaust, but it doesn't make sense, especially facing that direction.
The one at Johnson looks like it'd be ideal for the one at Rockwell.
Okay.
It's got just enough bend. Yeah.
You don't have to glue it. Just if it's PVC pipe, can you just slap something on it tomorrow morning so we don't have that issue, or is it metal?
It is metal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got to be careful because you don't want to build up any back pressure. So it has to be.
Oh, I know.
It has to be designed.
Trust me, I know. Thank you.
So we also had a bullet on the agenda of schedule update, which we kind of got into the schedule while we were doing this whole project update. And I believe Ken just a little ago said something about some things that may have affected the schedule, like some change orders. So do we need to get an updated schedule?
So Ken issued an updated schedule today. It didn't go out with the package to folks, but I did post it on the shared drive and we'll circulate that after the meeting. So we do
Okay.
have, and honestly, I didn't even look at it. So I haven't made a comparison against the previous schedule to even know what might have changed, but it's available.
Okay. Is it an overall significant change in some of the turnover dates, or still working?
No, it's not. It mirrors the smaller version that we sent in a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Oh, so this is a more detailed schedule on the tasks that you had provided the sort of a one-page synopsis on.
But you are correct, Nancy. If there are change order dates in there, then if the two do reflect each other, then yes, we need to give you an update to this then as well, reflecting any of those changes.
Yes.
Okay. So does anyone else have questions on progress or schedule? Questions or comments? I
still go by the same comments I had before on Johnson. You know, I just want to see that things completed. You know, it's one thing to say it on the list, and it's another thing to see it out in the field.
I agree, and that's kind of what I was just going to say, is that getting things done is going to give us a whole lot more confidence that it's actually going to happen than either continuing to make lists or continuing to check into things. Check into it, see what has to get done, and then get it done.
Right.
I saw the email that Dr. Carver sent, and I took those 4 lists and emailed everyone. So, and some of them are pretty long. So you can check them out.
So Nancy, is there a date at this point? I mean, listening tonight, Jim saying they're aware of most of the items and they know what they have to get finished. So is there a date that Jim could give us at this point where the committee should go back and see a lot of progress and see, I mean, it can't just be nebulous. There has to be a targeted date where we say, okay, it's the 15th of December, giving a fair amount of time that Rizzo needs. When do we regroup and the committee can see that there's been substantial progress?
I think what I'd like to do, if I could answer that, Terry, is go through, see what's remaining on the Perkins punch list to see who the offenders are. And honestly, that all just comes down to then assigning a dollar value to each of those, letting them know that we're not going to release those dollars. And by the way, those dollars will reflect whatever's left on their contract. We'll release those dollars until they clean up those items. And then obviously I've got to take a look at some of these other items that Roy has brought up and others have brought up, especially over at Johnson. And then I think we can give you that answer.
Okay, so like when is the building committee's next meeting?
It's not till the new year, right?
Right.
Well, we have a regularly scheduled meeting next Tuesday. The reason that we met tonight was that some people weren't able to attend next Tuesday. We could meet next Tuesday, but we'd be minus a few people, and I don't know how much we'd be able to deal with if, I think there were maybe three or more people who couldn't attend next week.
And being that Rizzo will have the school shutdown time over the holidays, I'm going to honestly say I think it makes more sense to see substantial progress either immediately following the break, or I don't know when your meetings are, the 1st and 3rd or 2nd and 4th, or what are they?
2nd and 4th. So our next regular meeting, like I said, would be the 22nd. The 29th is also a Tuesday, but that would be in the middle of Rizzo probably doing a lot during that school shutdown vacation time.
So there are a number of major areas or major tasks that are scheduled right now to be completed by December 31st. So as Terry said, allowing them to take advantage of of the time when the schools are empty, and also honoring the schedule that they've presented. I think the best idea would be to take another hard look after that December 31st date, because that's when they've next promised major progress.
So if the committee were to choose January 5th, which is a week earlier than I guess your normal January 12th, would that be a fair date to have a really solid progress report? Or would keeping January 12th be fair?
And Terry, I think to add to what you're saying, I think that maybe having another walkthrough around that time, because it's one thing to, I think what the
I agree.
What the frustration is, and it's been my frustration, I've expressed it before too, is that you think something's getting done and it doesn't get done. And I think that's what Roy, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Roy, but we've been talking about the light poles since July, right? So now we have this whatever list, so they have from now until then to get their act together.
Exactly.
And then have another walk right before, maybe towards the before the next meeting, to see where we are.
So when do you start school? Is it the Monday the 4th, or is it?
Yep, the Monday the 4th.
Monday the 4th.
And
Okay.
and Johnson, and Rizzo knows this, and Geraldine knows this. Johnson's not in school on Wednesdays, so they have tomorrow, and they have the 23rd. So they have a little bit longer at Johnson where it's not occupied.
So we could, if needed, we could have a special meeting on Tuesday, the 5th.
Unless you
But-
thought the committee needed that week to have a time to do a walkthrough and leave your regular meeting for the 12th. But I mean, you have to have a fair amount of time. If all the lists are laid out and Jim and Ken have time to address the lists, I mean, it's not going to happen in 48 hours. But I think the committee would expect some substantial changes between today and then.
See, to Terry's point, if we looked at, like, I would say even that Saturday, January 9th, if we could get the committee to break up, and even we have a special meeting, a walkthrough, and break up the two schools, and half the committee in one school and half in the other, and just go through everything. And it's not going to take an hour or two. It's going to take multiple hours to do a walkthrough in those buildings, to really do, to see things.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then leave your normal meeting for the 12th,
11th.
but I think that's a more appropriate amount of time to see a difference.
Right. And we wouldn't all have to be on a walkthrough. People who felt comfortable going or
Right.
were able to go could go, but we could have, 3, 4 of us, like you said, at one school and 3 or 4 of us at another school and get a lot covered. And we could
I
have,
agree, but then would we
Right.
swap it over the following week and see, because more eyes are better, and see if somebody missed something or not, or am I overthinking this?
well, I think, so you're saying to go have one group do Johnson and a couple days later go do Rockwell?
Yes.
And then that's, might be a little, I don't know, might be overkill.
Because I'll gladly do it. I'm just saying if.
But I know John Menti suggested a Saturday, but I don't know, that means we're gonna have to get in there and,
That's not an issue.
okay,
I mean, or, if you want to do it after the kids leave too. I mean, I know it gets dark early and it's hard, but, that shouldn't be, or if you wanted, I don't even anticipate even after the holidays. We'll probably still have Wednesdays, that, at least for a few weeks that people could access the building.
so we could actually start, like, for some people getting out of work and getting there in time. We could start when it's still light out, but that would mean starting by 3:30 or something like that, and that might not be possible for everyone if it was a Wednesday.
Right.
If a Saturday, but we can figure.
Yeah, I just don't see a Saturday being an issue. We can,
Okay.
if Bob, we can have the custodians come if Bob's not available, so to open up the buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I can see Bob say, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
All right, so
I mean,
But we
to
can work on-
Geraldine's point, a lot of things on the schedule are for the close of this calendar year. So I
Right.
would think even giving a little more wiggle room there. I'm not going to say you're walking back and seeing it all perfect, but you should see substantial change to the areas of concern.
Well, there certainly should be substantial progress on punch lists that have already been generated. So that should be ongoing anyways. And then pile on top of that, the fact that there are major areas of the building that that are under major construction that are not supposed to be even substantially complete until December 31st. We won't have a punch list from Joe on those remaining areas until after January 4th. And even in talking with Chris Baldwin, he's aware that we're going to need to occupy those areas on January 4th, but I'm sure his TCO again will be conditional, and he'll have his own list of things that need to be resolved. So even choosing something like January 9th, I think the hope would be that you could look at the first couple of phases that have been turned over quite a while ago and see that either punch list is complete or substantially smaller than it had been. But you'd be looking at a different level of completeness on, say, the gyms and then some of the public areas, the boilers, the boiler rooms, things like that. So as long as you understand that's what the state would be in the first week of January, then I think another walkthrough probably would set all of your minds at rest about the accomplishments that can be done through the end of the year.
So,
Yeah,
and that
I'm
was
hoping,
I had, were there going to be areas of both buildings where there would need to be additional TCOs in order to get use of those spaces after the holiday break?
The gyms.
The gyms.
Yeah.
And the health room at Rockwell, right, Carolyn?
Exactly. The gyms, the health room, the PE offices, storage, everything that's not yet been occupied.
And we're occupying everything else pretty much. But to your point, there is substantial construction even at Johnson with the foyer and the canopy and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Dr. Carver, what about the floors? Normally during the Christmas holiday, we tend to do floors. And then I know the Higgins group has to do some floors as well. At the,
Yeah, aren't they
at the
supposed to do
Johnson.
stuff at Johnson?
At both schools.
Well, is Ken still there? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it like we normally do, Bob.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I think we have to step aside, Bob, and we have
Right.
to let Rizzo get done. Yeah, and we know.
No, I agree.
You talked about the floors today. They have to have those stripped and redone because it didn't hold. So I think we have to step aside and let them get at what they got to get at.
Okay, so we're gonna put something together for the 9th. We'll
yep.
take care of that a bit late, or we can plan it now if you want. Do something, start in the morning, not too early.
I
And
think we should just pencil it in for the 9th, and then, as the date gets a little closer, we could confirm.
okay, sure, we can do that.
And I
Okay,
think in preparation for that, we would want to issue to all of you, provide you with a copy of the current Rizzo punch list, which incorporates Perkins punch list and their own punch list, so that you can see, again, like the ones that Christine forwarded or Christine provided and Nancy forwarded. You can see what the expected progress is at that point, so you're not looking fresh at everything.
Okay.
sounds like
I'm keeping a positive attitude that on the 9th, we're going to walk through, and we should be through in about a half an hour in each school.
We also Bob knows this too, but I also forward it to the head custodians in the building every time I get an update, and then they provide feedback to me and Bob where they're not satisfied too. So we have that little internal mechanism too. We haven't done it in a while, so we got to do it again, but we're looking at that too.
okay. So
Can we get a commissioner report? I'm sorry, can we get a commission update?
like what
A mechanical commission update?
on the commissioning from IES?
Yeah.
Are we due for one? Are they still, is there another milestone that they need to meet before they put them together?
Basically, it's a general question, just, 'cause I know we were throwing things together just to get things running.
Right, right.
Well, I mean, we get Rick's on the call every Thursday.
I mean, so yes, internally, we understand where IES is with commissioning. So I guess it's two different things. Number one, I think, and I will speak for them, the commissioning exercises obviously are also way behind schedule. I mean, we had originally planned to fully commission the heating system in December, and that couldn't happen because of some of these issues with the gas supply question and the boilers, not working. And then the overriding issue, as Bob knows, that we do not yet have a controls package that's fully functional and that can be utilized by the schools. So I know that Rick and his staff were out there this week. Today, I think, I have to go check with them. I'm sure we'll hear from them on progress on Thursday, but I do think that it would be useful for the building committee to hear directly from IES again And so perhaps we should invite them to come to one of the January meetings. And then they could do a better job on reporting where they're at with the heating systems, where we're at with the ventilation, where we are in terms of permanent, as Bob was referring to, the permanent parameters that the system is supposed to be functioning under. We're still on sort of a temporary, ventilation specification because the systems are not fully controllable. And then Rick can also update you all as to the plan to commission the cooling system next summer. So yeah, I would suggest we have him come in and talk about the condition or the progress as to the HVAC systems from his viewpoint.
Because I do notice on the schedule that like end of December, it says commissioning completion. Isn't complete because they still have to go through all the seasons.
No, Carolyn, the contracting generator and the main switch gear and all the electrical distribution panels, who's looking at that?
Well, he is looking at that as well, but no, as you have heard Rick say on the Thursday meetings, there is no system that is complete enough for him to actually commission. So that's.
What about the generator? Generator should be ready to be commissioned. I mean, that's online. There's no temporary hookups there. That's online. That's the way.
Training has been completed. The generator is done.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I know it's done because I've actually operated it, so I know it's done.
You have the commissioning report, Bob?
No, that's the reason for my question. At least that's one thing to check off,
Is that by Stewart and Stevenson?
What was your question, David?
Is the commissioning, the generators were installed by Stewart and Stevenson, correct?
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
I don't know. That's a Ken question.
I'm sorry, Ken, who is the installer for the generators? Was it Cummings or Stewart and Stevenson?
It was a Cummings.
It was Cummings, okay. All right. Do you know who you dealt with over there by any chance?
No, I don't.
Get a commissioning report?
So would the generator be commissioned separately from other things, or would that be?
The generator be commissioned all by itself.
So moving,
and along with the switch gear, along with the transfer switch.
So moving into winter where we might have some power interruptions, et cetera, might it be good to get that commissioned?
So if it's Cummins, which I have a contract with them for 12 of my generators, they generally do the ATSs and the generators themselves. So that should be a completed. I can make a call tomorrow if you give me the name of who you're dealing with. I'm pretty sure I know who you are, but I can make sure of that.
But what Bob's asking is if they're going to be commissioned, that's something that it's part of IES's contract.
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, that's one thing to just take off the list. That should be an easy thing.
Oh, sorry, Bob. I misunderstood what you're saying. I thought it was the generator themselves. You're talking about the BMS.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I'm talking about the emergency standby generator.
Yep.
In both buildings. They're installed. They're done. There's no temporary hookup. They're done.
Okay.
It should be looked at by Rick if Rick does look at that, and that's one checkbox. You're done.
Okay.
So is that something that IES, when they're out again, can take care of, Geraldine?
I'll find out.
Okay.
It may also be something that they need to just witness the actual testing and commissioning of the generator by the installer. But let me find out whether that is something that we can, as Bob said, check the box.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we look at the budget?
I see Laura just sent an email, so you'll have an update, Geraldine.
Yeah, I read it. She was in the gist of Laura, why we're still waiting for Laura to respond to some of these things is she was consulting with people at the State Department of Health. So apparently she has some answers, and she does say that she still owes us a sort of a list. She did sign off on the current, this current phase, last phase TCOs, the cafeterias and music rooms, but her sign off was conditional, as is everybody's sign off. So we'll continue to work with her on resolving those wall ceiling issues.
Okay. Budget review.
Budget. So budget reviews, there was not a lot of movement, only some updates for invoices that were approved at the last meeting, since we have, since we're looking at the major invoice, the application for payment for construction, you won't see a big change in these numbers from last month. Again, we're 85% build out. This is Johnson. We are 85% build out on the entire job and 90% of construction. And there was, I think that there was no action on the owner's contingency at Johnson last time. So you're still seeing 1.7 million left in contingency there. And at Rockwell, similarly, although a little farther ahead, the entire project's built out at 89% and construction's built out at 91%, with a negative $339,000 in the owner's contingency. And we know that that is because as a combined project, this is what we're currently tracking. We're going to look at today on Rockwell. We're going to look at about $60,000 worth of change orders and some credit change order and a credit change order at Johnson. And then again, with all of our projected future potential costs, down at the bottom in the blue, we see the negative 339,000 in contingency at Rockwell, offset by the 1.7 million at Johnson. When we take into consideration our projected additional costs, we're looking at $900,000 projected to be left in the owner's contingency at the close of the project.
I also wanted to add, Nance, that I did submit to the Office of School Construction the letter asking for the revisions in the budget for eligibility purposes, and I'll send a copy to the building committee, and I also sent it to our delegation, so that so our legislative delegation, so that they know that I submitted that to the Office of School Construction, and they've been very supportive. They responded that, you know, let them know if we need anything on that end. So I just wanted to let the committee know that also.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. And so with the legislative delegation, would it help if they contacted the Office of School Construction and put in some good word or something, or do you kind of want to wait and see on that?
I want to wait. Costas is a little funny sometimes when they interfere. And so I want to make them aware if I need to go to them, but I want to wait and you know, in talking with Michelle Dixon, and Terry could talk to her even more, talk to about more, you know, and based on my previous conversation with him, I don't anticipate an issue, but I want to have it in our back pocket if I need to go to them.
Okay. So, Geraldine, question on the projected cash flow. We're looking at some change orders that will probably have to go through, and then also additional fee requests. So do you have STVs in there too, or no?
No, I have not adjusted the additional fee requests for anything that was submitted for this meeting, mostly because I considered them, at least I considered mine a draft, you know, to talk about. So until we get more specific about the direction that the building committee would like to go with those discussions, I did not include them here. But the point of showing a 900,000 at the bottom is to say that's what you've got today as available funds for any of those discretionary actions you'd like to take.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions on the cash flow?
No.
I
Thanks
also
for-
wanted to point out that the practical effect of the letter that Christina's provided to the commissioner would be to increase the very top line, the number under Rockwell School for 24,723,433. That was the original approved a budget at the state for which all of the reimbursements are based on. So what we're asking them to do is to increase that by 936,000, something like that, which would affect it would affect the contingency available for Rockwell, but what we're telling them in the letter is that you can take it out of the Johnson project. So that's what will happen. If that's approved, we'll see a change in both of the overall budget numbers for the project for each school.
But have you reflected that as a possibility in this?
I have not. Well, I have not reflected that in this, other than sort of this narrative recognition that your contingency at Rockwell is a negative 339. Now you can't really have a negative. We know that the town is going to cover that with other money, and we know that it's coming out of sort of the joint contingency for both projects. And the appeal to the commissioner is to formalize that at the state level to some extent.
Right. And the letter, I will email it to you, but the letter is in the shared drive.
Okay.
So I made a separate folder in the shared drive called OCR. I think it's called OCR.
Yeah.
So it's in there. Didn't I call, no, what did I call it?
I saw it.
Okay. I did too. Well, I mean, I know it's down at the bottom here, OSC revisions budget.
Right.
Environmental issues. So
Yep.
if you go in, you see all the sort of the iterations of it.
Drafts,
and
but
then the final.
and the final one's on letterhead that I submitted.
Yeah.
So if we don't hear back from them in the next couple of days, we'll follow up before the holidays.
Okay. But if once that's approved, we're expecting that they should approve it. And you said it was 900 something, 935 or something like that.
Right. The amount
If
that
that
was.
gets,
Go ahead.
if that
Isn't
gets
that
moved
Yes, that's it.
officially
Yeah.
So if
it's down at the
from
bottom, I think.
Yeah. So what it would happen is it would all the environmental issues would become eligible expenses.
they
Right,
become
and I
eligible,
can't.
it's 936 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't enlarge. Yeah.
You don't have to make it larger. But
So
my
you'll-
question was, and looking at the your cash flow analysis, ongoing cash flow analysis, if that 936 gets moved from Johnson to Rockwell, does that make that Johnson contingency? I mean, you've got still have.
Well, yes, it will take care of some of that, but the project is still projected to be over, even if you increase the original Rockwell budget from the where am I? Even if you increase the overall approved state budget, the 24,723,433, if you add the 936 on top of that, you still don't get to the current 26 million that we think that Rockwell is going to close out at. It helps that position by formalizing the movement of money between the two projects, but it does not put Rockwell in the black.
Correct.
Right. So it's, and again, we're looking at the reimbursement part of it, but down at the bottom where you have your possible projected owner contingency at completion, the 901, would it eat into that significantly, or actually would eat into it somewhat, because you got the 330. As
Yes, the practical effect is that at the end of the day, you still will have a total of 900. It'll just be split. Well, actually, it'll probably still be all on Johnson.
Right.
We'll be able to pick up some of it on Rockwell.
Okay. Just want to be clear.
Yep. And we will adjust all those numbers as soon as we get get a direction from the state.
Mhm. And Christine, you think that they're going to be pretty quick acting on this?
Well, when Terry and I talked to Michelle Dixon, she wanted to settle it around now because they're on at it's I don't know what the date is today, but as of December 15th, they issue the new projects. And so they wanted to kind of like wrap it up prior to that. It's difficult to reach them because they're all working remotely. But I think Terry and I probably early next week can try to call Michelle again just to kind of see where we are if we don't hear back. But I did send it to Costa, Michelle, Geraldine, and their assistant in the office. So I'm hoping we hear something soon. If not, we'll follow up.
Right, because today's the 15th.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure we got it in before then, because we told her we would. So,
Right. Okay.
so we should know something soon. I think the benefit is that in the end, what the letter and to be fair, I didn't write that letter. Geraldine wrote the letter, or she wrote most of it. I think I wrote the first paragraph.
Collaborative.
Yeah. So she I think at the end of the day, we're not going over the allocated amount that the state gave us. In fact, we'll probably be under. And that's what we really tried to emphasize in the letter, because the state's going to have a lot of issues coming up. So we were trying to make the case that there were these conditions that we didn't anticipate. We addressed them. And at the end of the day, it's still, the state is still going to not expend as much as they had allocated to Bethel. So that was the main thrust of the letter. So I'm hoping, based on my previous conversation with Costa, our conversations with Michelle, I'm hoping I don't have to get the delegation involved.
And in years gone by, districts were able to convince the state to actually allow overruns and,
Right.
and make it become eligible. But we weren't asking for that. And remember, even when we got the GMP, we knew from that point forward that we were over in Rockwell and under in Johnson. And we had the conversations then, and Dr. Carver has letters, the letters she sent to them then after having a conversation with them. And they were open at that time. And they said related to the abatement issues, they would be open to doing this. So we're not expecting a major pushback.
No, I think we would have already heard it if we were going to get it. Because I know Michelle is in frequent contact with Costas. I think we would have heard if there was going to be a big issue. But listen, stranger things have happened, so we'll be on top of it. But hopefully we'll hear in the next couple of days.
Okay. All right, thanks.
So tonight we have, sorry.
I was just saying if anybody has any other questions on budget before we move on to change orders and spend more money.
Yes. So we'll take that as a no.
Nobody's joking, so just pick one.
So we have 2 change orders at Johnson and 3 at Rockwell. And we'll start with the change order. We presented this one last meeting. This is at Johnson School, change order 96 for the substitution of the vinyl tile on the platform stage floor for the gym, for the wood floor. What this change order still has included is the credit for the subfloor, the credit for the tile, the new vinyl tile to be placed on the floor. This also includes the cost to lower the folding partition, which was not in proper alignment for this new flooring height. And what it still does not include is any movement on the wood floor that was already purchased. So there is no credit in here for the wood flooring material. I believe Joe Collada is still working with the manufacturer's rep to resolve that, but we wanted to at least bring this much of the change order to you in order to get this in order to get this work going. So the change order is actually a credit in the amount of $6,066.50. And we would like to recommend that you approve this and that we continue to deal with the actual credit or return of the wood flooring separately, just to keep this moving.
Okay, so for discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve change order 96 for Johnson School for the change to from the wood floor to the vinyl tile at the stage, right? Stage?
Yeah, yes, the platform.
Platform.
The classroom, stage, platform, classroom, yes.
Platform, classroom, stage, platform, classroom. And credit of $6,066.50.
I'll second that.
Roy seconds it. So it's pretty, this is pretty spelled out as far as the credits and the amount, and you're saying that it does include moving the partition. So that'll get taken care of. The only downside is, as you said, we have a whole bunch of wood flooring, which is where is it? Is it there?
Bob said no.
No, Ken, in fact, did you confirm whether even Higgins has the floor or not, or whether it's still at the,
This is R&B, and
I'm sorry,
they can bring the floor anywhere you want it.
so they already have it in their possession?
Yes.
So the installers have the floor in the wood floor in their possession.
Right.
And we have to do something with it. But Joe's still working on seeing if they'll give us some sort of credit and take it back. Because it's not custom.
Semi-custom because it's FSC certified due to the Connecticut High Performance Building Guidelines.
Got it.
So we couldn't put a transverse strip in there?
No, they figured that out last time. So John, there was a number of things that came up that didn't make it workable to use the wood floor.
All right.
If you want to, Joe will explain it if you need to hear it.
No. Use that credit towards Bob for the gym, for the lights.
Is the wood flooring just like a strip something, strip oak, strip something?
It's I believe it's maple.
Okay.
I'll move
right,
the
so-
motion.
What's that?
I'd just like to move the motion along.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Gotta let me know.
I'm pretty close to it because I know I'm gonna get stuck with this pallet of wood.
I have an idea for what to do with it, but it depends on how.
We'll use it for a bonfire for the roof party.
I say Bob could heat his house for the winter.
Yeah.
It's maple, Bob. It works. It
Redo the GP room floor in the municipal center.
There you go. Perfect.
I'd rather see us use it than get no money to pay for shipping it back.
Yeah,
Either the town or the Board of Ed.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's too
if
bad we
they'll-
just had just redone the high school. We could have used it.
But keep in mind that wood has to be stored in an environmentally protected area.
Yeah.
So,
Like an IDF room.
yeah, well, the thing is, where is it going to go? That's the $64,000 question. And John knows it. I mean, John Printer knows that space is limited in any school.
Yep.
Put it in the old police station for now.
The firing range.
No.
There you go.
Did you say
You
the
can't
new
go in
police?
there. That's
Did
still
John
hot.
meant to say the new police station? Where do they want a wood floor there now, John?
Yeah,
Firing range.
yeah, firing range, yeah. Don't even go there. Let's move on, move on.
Okay, so does anybody opposed? John's half opposed, or Bob's half opposed.
That doesn't count.
Let's keep going. Motion carries.
All right, the other PCO at Johnson is to modify millwork in a number of rooms where the millwork was fabricated concurrently with construction and demolition going on, and so it needed to be, certain pieces needed to be field modified because of conduits that were running through the back of the cabinets, or to fit around other chases and jogs in the walls that ended up being part of the construction. So as the change order shows, the work was all done. It was all done on a T&M basis. So we have a good record of the time it took them to modify the millwork. And the total is $3,612. Now, I will say that the team had some discussion about this, about why millwork was not fabricated based on as-built drawings in the, in the spaces. And the answer was that that would have been a kind of a schedule issue. So millwork was fabricated, as I said, concurrently with the construction of the spaces, and some adjustments needed to be made.
And that's all pretty much labor costs, right? Except for the
I think
construction.
it's probably pretty, yeah, I would guess it is primarily labor costs, probably some small
Right.
routing cabinets, modifying for a jog. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the field mods for $3,612.
Second,
Okay. Yep, change order 97. So Dave Olson seconds. Any more discussion on this? Seems to make sense that they did it this way rather than trying to come up with shop drawings and build it around some conduit and such. So all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Motion carries.
All right, at
Now we have-
Rockwell, yes, we have 3 change orders. So 105, this is the work required to replace the rusted deck and repair the concrete in the gang restrooms. So this was work, or this was an existing condition, deteriorated materials that were discovered and actually noted by the building official at one point during a walkthrough. And he said, you got to take care of this. So it is complex, multi-subcontractor work. The plan is to complete it over the holiday break, because it, for at least most of the work on the floor, renders the restrooms unusable. The plan is to have much of the work completed by January 4th, and then not restore the restrooms, but make them usable when the students come back to the school. And if further work needs to happen, for instance, putting back in the gypboard ceiling, or any finished work, that work would be done on weekends, or even as far as Martin Luther King's birthday. This is one of the items that's shown on the schedule going into mid-January for that reason. But the bulk of the work needs to happen over the holiday break.
And as I recall, I think they spent a bunch of time really getting the price narrowed in, and to a point where it's
Yes, the structural engineer weighed in on what should happen here and how they should approach repairing those floors, and that's That's where the scope of work developed.
And this is included in one of your, in your cash flow analysis as recommending, as part of what's
Yes.
recommended approval, so it's taken into consideration.
Correct.
Got to get done. So I make a motion that we approve for Rockwell School change order number 105 for repairing in the floor in the gang in the amount of $53,732.74.
I'll second it.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
Sure, that was a
Yes,
second from
okay,
John
yeah.
Furlong, Kathy.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Roy.
Couple quick questions for Rizzo. The $8,886 was Universal Foundation, and it shows up on the bid as Capasso Enterprises.
Correct. They've changed their company to Capasso, but they're still listed as Universal because that's how they signed the contract.
Okay. The next item I had on Marcelli Steel, T&M are we gonna get I don't find any bid in there or pricing in there on that. Is there a, projected hour amount and projected material list there?
I mean, we have 5 holes. To just give you a quick rundown, that are going to be approximately 3 foot by 3 foot after you chip out the loose concrete. So I believe that the amount listed here, the 15,000, is more than enough. But I just couldn't get a commitment on pricing. So I was almost forced to go into time and material because
You don't know how big, you don't know how much of that concrete they're gonna have to take out at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jim. So then it would be a not to exceed price of the 53,732.
I think that's fair to say. And if we find something, day one is getting into taking that out, we find something that's considerably different than what's expected, we would have to let you know and come up with a game plan how to get it.
Okay. Take your word on it.
Because the T&M for Marcelli Steel, I mean, I would assume that you put the 15,000 in as an amount not to exceed.
Yeah, that's probably more like it.
Mhm.
The rest of them you have a bid on, so.
Right.
Yep.
Anything else, questions or comments on this change order? All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have anybody opposed? I don't see anybody. All right, so that carries.
All right, also at Rockwell, we have a storm line within the music room that needed to be extended or that was more extensive than the bid documents indicated. The bid documents were drawn off of, in this case, off of drawings of an existing, that were supposed to include the existing sanitary line. The sanitary line turned out to be 30 feet away from where the drawings originally showed it. And when that was discovered by the current plumber, they needed to connect the two lines, connect the new line with the old line. And so there was additional work in the amount of $2,015.37.
So I'll make a motion that we approve change order 106. Extend the storm line within the music room 120 at Rockwell School for $2,015.37.
Second.
Dave
Second.
Olson seconds. Any other questions or comments on this? All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
And the last one is for a soffit in the faculty dining room at Rockwell. This soffit is above wall-mounted millwork to enclose ductwork that had to be repositioned to go around steel structure, as I understand it. Ken, am I correct?
That's correct.
So, so instead of having the ductwork hanging out in the faculty dining room, we want to enclose it, probably have already enclosed it in framing and drywall.
So it's already probably done. Yeah.
I would guess.
All right.
Make a motion
I will.
that we approve the 30, was it 36, 39, 79 for
Yes.
for the additional soffits.
Second.
Change your number, whatever number it is.
Yeah, I gotta go back. Change order 107.
Okay, yep, okay. So Roy made a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. Any other questions, comments on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Motion carries.
That's it for change orders.
Okay, good. That's probably it for change orders tonight, but not forever and ever.
No, probably not.
I hope so.
Right.
That would be nice. So then we have additional service requests. And we have a draft from STV, and which Geraldine sent to everybody, and then I forwarded the Perkins Easton to everyone also. So pick one, we'll jump into it.
Well, I'll pick mine because why not? So,
Why not?
as I said earlier, I consider this a draft proposal. We tried to lay out what we thought was both needed to complete the project going forward, and we also are requesting covering some additional costs of work that's already been completed essentially, but is based on the fact that the schedule has extended past its, or at least past our original understanding of how the project would progress. So I'm going to start with the closeout information, and that would be the first 5 lines. What we looked at is assuming that the majority of the construction is completed, substantially complete December 31st, and a TCO can be issued on the remaining gym areas in each building by mid-January. That's what we're sort of looking at now as the substantial completion of construction under our proposal. And then going forward into the spring, we have a couple of other smaller phases, mostly to show time where we would bring back my associate, Matt Amatruda, who's on site, who had been on site 40 hours a week, is now on site probably 2.5 days a week. We're going to drop him down to about 2 days a week to finish out the construction. But he would come back during certificate of occupancy final inspections, potentially for a week someplace in the spring. And then as I'm showing under phase 4, he would also come back a couple of days a week later in the spring when we're actually doing the planting and the paving and all the things that necessarily have to be pushed off until April. And then for my time, what we're looking at once construction is substantially complete in mid-January would be about another 3 months of closeout work that's fairly labor and time intensive, finishing up these change orders, reviewing final applications for payment, just kind of working through the documentation that needs to happen. And then we've also proposed a sort of a secondary phase of closeout that would go through June, which is where we know the commissioning is going to be finalized. Trying to pick up a few hours, an allowance for a few hours to attend periodic meetings of the building committee and to finalize just whatever needs to be final before we put the package on the shelf and wait for the state to come back and ask questions. So that's my work. The things shown as phase 1 through 5 is work going forward. Then the next 2 lines have to do with work that we feel should be compensated but has already been completed. So in the case of the move costs, when we presented the last additional services proposal, it was under the assumption that there would be, all those moves over the summer, and then a secondary move in September, because at that point we understood that the buildings would be partially complete for school to start on September 7th, but that there would be, like these areas of the gym would be completed through, at that point, September and October. And now what we're seeing is that we are still dealing with furniture deliveries and certainly furniture punch list. So we have, based on our own time cards and invoices that have been presented, which have a documentation of the time that our senior project planner who manages the moves and the furniture for us, the additional $7,994 of his time that has already been spent beyond what we had estimated under the last additional services proposal. And then finally, from September 4th, when the buildings were supposed to be substantially complete, to sort of this time, in end of November, beginning of December, we're also proposing and looking at the fact that I am still spending additional time where originally we might have been in some part of closeout at this point, or if site work was the only work going on, that my hours would not be as extensive. But we looked back at the time this fall and have found that, yeah, there was another at least 8 hours a week that was spent on tasks due to a schedule extension. And then I also want to point out in the highlighted areas, we are slightly discounting our hourly rates in making these calculations work. We want to come to an equitable sort of agreement for the time that we're spending and throw in a little bit by reducing our hourly rates in making those calculations. And just for what I attached to this document were the previous fee proposals. This is for Rockwell, and then it goes on to show the original contract fees for Johnson. What I have here is the combination of both schools together at this point. We of course would necessarily separate it out if we were going to go forward on a contract extension and a proposal, but it was easier at this point to just show it all together.
Carolyn?
As a total exposure, yes.
So quick question.
Yeah.
So obviously due to COVID, there's outstanding issues. Why weren't we under on some of the time because of things were shut down? And am I thinking about this the wrong way? But like, obviously if we shut down the project for time and did all that, is there any negative balance to be brought forward?
So we did not shut this project down at any time.
Okay.
There were times early, like last spring, there were some times when we had fewer crews on site, and I think there was some schedule impact to COVID and crews not being available or not wanting to be available, and some of the sequence of work was off for a while. I think that in my mind, COVID contributed to some of this schedule extension, but I do not think it was a major contributor. And as I said, there was no time when when anybody had stopped work. on the project.
So in figuring this, looking at the different phases of your phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you took into consideration, like you said, like Matt being on the job less and moving into the new year, et cetera. And then does it also include whatever you might need to do, you, Geraldine, might need to do paperwork wise in helping with the rest of the submissions to the state, et cetera? Is that all part of that
It
in
does.
there?
That's exactly what this is. So on the first line, you'll see that my time is shown at 20 hours a week, which is about what I'm spending now, what I have been spending while there's been active construction and, you know, and all of the associated documentation and the support for these meetings. What I'm looking at going forward is reducing that as construction is completed. There will not be as many. There, at some point, we will stop having the Thursday trailer meetings. And our participation in these building committee meetings will be less or less frequent. And so at some point, hopefully all I will be left with is the support of the paperwork, documentation to the finance department for paying applications for payment or other invoices, and then tying up all the documentation that needs to go to the state. We're in the middle right now of putting together the state change order 7. I anticipate, based on the PCOs that I see coming up to the completion of the project, there is going to be a state change order 8. There's probably going to be a 9. And then there will be some exercise to reconcile both budgets, both at the Bethel level and then at the state level at the end. So I'm anticipating reduced hours, but not no hours, hopefully going into June.
Okay. And then, like you said, at some point, you're going to have to separate them into Rockwell and Johnson, so we see how it affects the budget that way.
And what we've done, I mean, what we've kind of done to date is a kind of a 60-40 split, you know, just because Johnson was a bigger project with a bigger budget. The hours kind of meld together, but we would split it up into 2 proposals, yes.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions, comments for Geraldine on this? Oh, Roy, you're muted.
Geraldine, that's based upon substantial completion of January 15th, though, is that correct?
Yes, on or about, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And these are obviously, other than the time that I'm trying to recoup from the past, about $25,000. The hours that I'm showing in phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, again, it's billed hourly. If for some reason we efficiently wrap up this project sooner and we don't need all the hours, we of course don't bill them.
Right.
So that part of it would be a not to exceed kind of.
Well, yes, essentially, not to exceed until something else changes, right? So, yeah.
Okay.
But yes, that would be and again, this is my best attempt to both properly staff your project and also be efficient with your money and all of our time, so.
Mm-hmm.
Good, thank you.
All right, thanks. Where do we go? Like, where do we go from here with this? Like, you're calling it a draft. How does it become an actual?
Well, yeah, if you all kind of nod and say, yeah, it looks reasonable, I certainly would present formal paperwork. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll separate it out into 2 formal proposals. I'll put a little bit more narrative behind it to explain, you know, what we're going to accomplish for you in the next 6 months. I'm happy to do that if this is the time to make that effort.
So, anybody have any input on that? Need to discuss further before we?
I think you should go forward with the proposal.
What, say that again?
I think Geraldine should go forward with a more formal proposal.
Okay. I think that would probably be the next step, yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
Any other comments, questions? Anybody else have any input on this? So we'll look at that at our next meeting.
Yep.
And with Perkins East, and their proposals are more formal.
Yes.
Were sent out. I can't remember when, yesterday maybe, or did
Yeah,
I
late
send them?
yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, and then I forwarded them to everybody last night. So, and we do have with the Perkins Eastman, one for each school. And I, in looking at them myself, I had a couple questions. So what you've done here, Joe, is you've taken the proposals from before, you've tracked where we are now with construction administration, because you
Correct.
kept up
Yeah, includes, so it's
updating
the
us every
basic,
month. Yep.
the basic breakdown is for Johnson, it's the $112,000 that we've spent through November, which we've tracked our hours for. And then we're proposing an additional 60,000 from December to April to get us through the construction schedule that was presented to us last week. And then similarly for Rockwell, I think it was, if you could switch to that one, or I could pull it up here.
Here I have it.
Yeah, so Rockwell, we've spent 43,900 and change through November, and then it would be an additional 28,000 through April, from December to April. And then both of these are actually lower than our, well, Rockwell significantly lower than our original additional service request that we presented back in March.
Right. Although I have a question with looking at the schedules that we were given. It shows Rockwell, not the based on the schedules that Rizzo gave us. It doesn't go out to April.
Right.
So, and I think your proposal says it goes out to April 1, 2021.
Right. So if we had no activity in March or April, for say, on Rockwell, this is hourly, so it would be 0 hours for those months. But this would cover anything that would extend on Rockwell through April 1st.
Got it. Okay.
So if there's no hours, there's obviously no fee associated.
No billing, because you're doing it monthly.
Correct.
Right.
Well, and I will say though that I will need some support from the design team in order to finalize some of the billings and some of the paperwork. So even if construction does stop substantially in January, and then the design team is around for the April work at Johnson that's been postponed, there will still be some other construction administration closeout work that they'll be responsible for going forward.
On Rockwell.
Even on Rockwell, yeah. I mean, even things like, the training and pulling together the as-built and the manuals and everything, that's going to go well into March, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, just a general question. How can we speed this up? And I'm trying to close this out as quickly as possible. And I know, we're working up against that January date, but obviously trying to save some money here for the town. Where are areas that we can start to, tighten it up?
Tighten which up? Tighten like the construction?
No, this closeout schedule. I recognize we keep pushing the date, and I'm trying to shorten the date.
It's entirely dependent on a response from the construction team. I mean, they are going to need to kind of ride those subcontractors to get invoices in, to get their final requisitions in, to get their bonds released. They're going to have to obviously ride the contractors that still have work to do into the spring to make sure that as soon as the weather breaks, that Earth Movers gets on that field extension and closes it down as soon as possible. I mean, a lot of it is still dependent on the management of the construction manager over the other trades. And the same thing with things like, O&M manuals or warranties. I mean, these are all things that the subcontractors have to provide, should be providing on a timely basis. And it's really going to be at the driving of Rizzo.
So Roy, to answer your question, there's no reason that we won't start or haven't started the O&Ms and the warranties. That's a given. And
Right.
that, Marilyn said, that's going to be a question of how hard we ride these subs.
Okay.
Or the money, now is the time to do it. I don't disagree with her that, getting Earth Movers at the top of the list for that field in April is going to be critical.
Right.
Mean that he's going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and commit to that at this point. But she's
Yeah.
not wrong in that these are the items that we control that we have to try to knock out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and Jim, I recognize there's going to be a group of these, such as the field and what have you, that, it's going to take, till late spring before you can get those items done. But I'm trying to get the, 98% of them, and the couple extra ones that we have will hopefully be the simple ones per se, that could be, don't require a lot of extra manpower and time from the whole design team and everyone to wrap up. I'm trying to get, the major expenses, trying to minimize the exposure that the town has here.
Okay.
Well, and some of that is about an efficient management of getting that documentation from the
Right.
subs, because if the architects don't have to trickle, if the documentation doesn't trickle in, they're better able to review it all, send it back and say, yes, it's complete. If they're getting as-built from the sprinkler guys, separate from the as-built on the, the HVAC guys, it just takes longer for them to process the information. So.
Yeah, I agree. So that's why I think, it's in everyone's best interest to be, keeping this whole team together in a fully mobilized fashion.
Yeah. So just another question. On it's contingent upon approval, we shall continue CA services commencing January 1. So we are not going to meet again unless we have a special meeting until January. I don't know how that would affect your proposal.
I'll talk to Joe Costa about that.
Okay, because I think we need some
Since
time
the-
to.
Right, since there's no meeting next week, I'll have to talk to him about that.
Okay.
I mean, essentially, I have, for me, who's the only one staffed on this project, I'm actually off the last 2 weeks of December. Obviously, if there's anything that comes up, I'll be available, but because I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so essentially, it's this week and the first week of January that would affect. So.
Right, but we could have, just internally, we could have either a committee meeting or some kind of a small meeting where we review all of it, figure out, and because we have to, again, check through the town, how do we do this in a fashion where, like, you've got a spot for signatures and we have to deal with that.
Right.
Is there more information you need? Is this adequate, or does it need to be a bigger, more legally document? Don't really know. So waiting to hear on that. So we need to, meaning the building commission, needs to to definitely take care of that part and be ready to take action at our next meeting.
Mhm.
And if we come up with it, I mean, if somebody comes up with a question in 3 days or whatever, we'll make sure we get it to you so you can, either Joe or Geraldine, if questions come up, we'll get that to you. And so it can, the process can continue. And we don't wait till the next meeting.
Excuse me, Nancy, I have to drop off. I have something at work I have to deal with.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Dave.
So to extend it, is it 71,515 for Rockwell and then 170 for Johnson?
Correct.
For
that-
240,000.
Yep. So that would be the time to cover our past expenses, dating from March on that we've been documenting for you, then extending it into April of next year.
And how much was your original?
The original for Rockwell was 123,000, and the original for Johnson was 184,000.
And I'm already carrying on this cash flow analysis, a total of 245,000 for their additional fees as it is. So this was based on the previous estimate going forward. And now what you're saying is that the 245 covers even this extended work into next spring.
Correct. Yeah, because the previous estimates, we've actually spent less hours from when we estimated those.
Right.
There's a little bit of two apples and oranges here. I think our commission was still, the subcommittee was still working on it. The STV, amount is really directive from, the completion date of the previous completion date of December, moving it up to January. Whereas Perkins, I think the extra is really the 15,000 or whatever, per 60,000 on one and 28 on the other. We're still in discussion regarding the previous amounts that were part of an extra on the contract to start with. So it just a clarification, Joe. I don't mind grouping them in like you did. That's a reasonable way of doing it. But I think for the commission's understanding, because the subcommittee was still wrestling with the original amounts per se.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind looking at them together. We're obviously doing it that way, but just to keep it clear.
Okay, any other questions for and as I said, as we're reviewing this further, this proposals from Perkins Eastman and the draft, and then eventually we'll get a proposal from STV from Jim. We'll come up with more questions or comments. We can forward those. And I would think, Geraldine, you'd probably want to put your proposal together like enough prior to the January meeting so that we can have do some reviewing and then do some checking, as I said, too.
I'll definitely do it almost immediately, hopefully by the end of this week. I have the calculations. I just need to really formulate the proposal and put the explanation with it. So it should be, I'll do it very soon.
And then one for each school, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Joe Collada, you're probably in a position too where you're seeing kind of where you're being able to have less time spent on the job for the different people who are doing it, kind of get maybe after January. Is that sort of what you've figured in here, or but then having to do it Johnson in April?
Basically, because I've had to reshuffle some of my planned hours with other projects to account for this extension. Yeah.
But then other people too, like John and
nope.
would
Right now you're just getting me.
Okay.
I'm 100% of the Bethel team, other than Joe Costa. So he has some hours built into here too.
Okay.
But the day-to-day stuff is just me right now.
Okay. And would these be amounts not to exceed, or would they?
Yes. Yeah, it would be not to exceed.
Uh-huh. And Geraldine, would yours be not to exceed? Well, the phases not to exceed, but.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly put that wording in there. It's not to exceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that in Perkins Eastman. So, okay. Any other questions here?
I had a question, just checking with the Rizzo team to see what we're looking at, you know, for the extension with them also, so that we know, you know, what, if there's additional costs involved.
We'll have something together for the next, what would have been next Tuesday's meeting, but we'll get that into Geraldine.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, invoices, okay.
Invoices, so invoices. Let's start with a couple here. We have National Outdoor Furniture.
Okay, let me just get my pile of them so I can check them as I get through them. So this was something additional, or?
So this, I don't know if Terry's still on, but this is to purchase an outdoor table that had to replace a table that had been at Rockwell prior to construction, but that disappeared instead of being saved, salvaged, and retained for the staff use after the project. So the school district did go ahead and buy a new table, and they have submitted this invoice to the project to be covered. I don't know what happened to the table. I don't even know if Ken knows any longer what happened to that table, but it was likely demolished with some site work, I'm guessing, inadvertently.
So this is coming out of the FF&E budget?
It could, yes, I can assign it to that line item, yeah.
Motion to
And
approve.
so who made the motion to approve? Dave Olson?
Yes.
I'll second it. Have another question. So $425.
Yes.
That's more than the
That's
table.
Should read it here. All right, if it's going against the FF&E, I guess we'll just, anybody have any other questions for it, about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That's somebody saying something about being opposed? Or background noise at somebody's house? Okay, so next one.
Next one is Roto-Rooter. This is the cost to pressure wash. This is for Johnson. This is for Johnson School. This is the services and the cost to pressure wash the sanitary line where we're having that backup near the nurse's office. Once the line was scoped, the pitch was determined to be adequate. The next recommendation, the next sort of step recommendation from the engineer was to power wash it, which was done in November at some point. This is the cost of doing that, $1,914.30. Actually, now that I look at that, I need to send that back to have the tax taken off of it. But I think at this point, there has not been another backup of that sanitary line, but we are just sort of waiting and seeing to see if this solved it. But this was the last action on that sanitary line.
Motion to approve.
So are we gonna approve it and then you're gonna get the tax taken off, or?
If you could approve the 1,800, I will, yes, work with finance to get, or with Rizzo, because actually this invoice originally came to Rizzo, but we had been covering all the other Arco Router invoices for this problem. It's not really a construction problem. It's sort of an existing condition problem. So yes, we'll get this invoice routed the right way so that there's no sales tax on it. So I would approve the 1,800.
So somebody made a motion. Is that, Dave, did you make a motion?
I did.
Second,
Okay,
I'll
for
second it.
1,800 for Johnson.
I'll
Who's
second it.
seconding it?
Roy.
Roy did.
I did.
Okay. Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Barclay Water Management. All right, this is being presented with, not with my recommendation to pay, but this is the cost of water testing that was done at Rockwell last August, I think, August of 2019. These were tests that were requested by Laura
Caroline,
Vasile.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We were told that it wasn't gonna be paid, so we paid it today.
Oh, well, I'm happy to hear that because I was going to recommend that we don't pay it. So, all right. So are you satisfied with that? And we should just remove it from the,
Yep.
okay. I have an invoice here that I did not distribute, but I'm hoping because of the small size of it and the fact that it was inadvertently not presented in a timely manner that you might consider it. This was some moves. This is from WB Meyer. These are for some moves that happened on September 4th. They came back to, this was like the day before school started. They came back and moved some, it says chairs, but I imagine it was, there was other furniture that was still being moved back and forth between the middle school and I think it's Johnson. And it's in the amount of $528.75, but it sat at STV's because of the way it's addressed. I think it got lost in the shuffle and it sat in a file here with STV since the end of September. So it is past due, and I would like to request that you approve it so that we can, process it through at this point.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Dave made a motion to, Roy seconded it. Somebody seconded it. Perna.
John,
Yep, John Perna. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done. So is that in the shared drive? Print it?
It is in the shared drive. Do you want me to send it to you separately?
I can get it and print it,
Okay. All right.
I think. Or email it to me, whichever.
All right. Maybe I'll follow up with all these invoices to make sure. Yeah. Or I'll email it to you. Because I think you might not have these red thread invoices either, but I'm not sure. So for furniture, we do have some invoices to that sort of complete the furniture delivery and installation process. This one from WB Mason is in the amount of, let me look. This is for Johnson School, and it is in the amount of $86,866. This essentially, wait, I'm sorry. Let me back up. The original invoice was for $86,866. At the time that we presented this invoice, there were some items here that were not completed based on punch list, files, ice makers in the refrigerators, the range hood for Johnson, and you only approved, I think, an amount of like 69,000, something like that for the invoice. All of this work is now complete, and so we're asking for an approval on the balance, which is $17,815.
Motion to approve.
Dave makes a motion to approve.
Seconded.
Gil seconds. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
And then we have both of the red thread invoices for the work that they completed this fall. This one is for, they do it on an AIA form, which is really interesting. This is for Johnson School. And it is for, and for some reason, they also discounted their original bid, in this case for Johnson School, was $264,429, but they provided us a little discount. So their final invoice is for the amount of $259,326. I don't know why, but I'm going to take it. And their work is complete.
I make a motion that we approve that application number 1-22160 in the amount of that Geraldine just read there. Oh,
$259,326.
$326. Yep, I got it. Dave makes a second. Any questions on this? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. So, and these are all going against FF&E and
They're all going, they are exact, yes, they are the amounts included on the purchase orders. They're going against the FF&E budget line item.
okay.
And so we have the same type of invoice from Red Thread for Rockwell School. And again, they discounted their work slightly. It was originally, their PO was for $176,003, and they are billing us as a final invoice for $173,354.
Geraldine, I'll check with Lindsay. I think there was something in their bid package about a discount if it was awarded a certain way to them.
Oh, if they got a certain, all of that. Well,
yeah, something
yeah,
like that. I recall something like that.
I just know that I went back and I looked at the purchase orders and they were for the higher amount. So, so at least I guess at that point we hadn't caught that, or they hadn't offered it, or
Right.
we're happy to spend less, obviously.
So I'll make a motion that we approve invoice or application number 1-22159 from Red Thread for Rockwell in the amount of $173,354.
Second.
Seconds. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then we have,
That's all I have. So what do you have? What else do you have?
Rizzo applications for payment.
Oh, geez, I forgot. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Yes, there is an application for payment. Let's see. Should have started with those. I forgot, we're off a week. All right, Johnson School application for payment 21.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Johnson application for payment 21 in the amount of current payment to $516,062.73.
The one that was signed and approved is just slightly different. It's 516,185.22.
All right, say that again.
It's 516,185.22.
And why is that?
I'd have to check. I just noticed it, but I can certainly find out for you tomorrow and let you know.
And if you could send me an updated scanned copy of that would be helpful.
Sure.
Can we approve this amount tonight and then that can be tacked on to the next invoice?
So no, it's actually, so this application, this cover page is different than the cover page that Ken left at the municipal center for me to sign if it's approved.
Yeah, it's probably accurate. Yeah. This is the copy that I had on Friday when I sent them out. So if you have a more updated final certified copy, then that would be the one we would want to approve.
So Ken, is the final certified copy at the municipal center in the amount that you just said?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So then we don't need to make any different thing there, John, because it's not what you see here, but the certified copy that's been notarized by Joe Pilata, et cetera. So the amount is $516,185.22. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other input question? Oh, I didn't get a second.
I'll second it.
Roy seconds it.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? And I have a question in looking at the pages that come after it with the percentage completion done by some of the subs, are they actually 100% done? And you owe them no money?
For the ones that we have listed that way, yes.
And they're done, there's no
No,
like
we
kill
can't.
court.
What we were talking about earlier, that we didn't want to pay these unless we knew they were 100%.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there could be change orders, but as far as contract work, if they're 100%, yes, they are.
But are they 100%?
Yes.
We just had that conversation for 25 minutes about how things aren't done yet.
Because I'm looking at like Higgins, you've got Higgins 100%, and I thought Higgins was going to have to come back and do some stuff.
So when we review these applications for payment, the question is twofold. One, are they substantially complete? Do they consider themselves 100% complete with their work? Is the work complete? So in case of Higgins, is all the floor, what is this? This is say ceramic tile, right? Is all the ceramic tile installed? Has it been punch listed? Is it complete? So, and then our second question is the $14,000 retainage enough to resolve any punch list issues that they might have? And for the most part, that is the question that we ask. And in all these cases, Rizzo does come back and say, yes, the work that they have left to do is not substantial, or it is substantial, and the retainage will cover it. In some cases, we see that 100% or we see a 99%, and we push back and say, we don't believe that the work, forget the retainage, we don't believe that the actual value of the work completed to date is that value. And they go back and adjust that and, work with the subcontractors to come up with an equitable number. So I think that's the process. I guess the question is, are we incorrect on any of those 100% line items, or are there any instances where the retainage that we're still hanging on to is not adequate to complete their punch list work?
Well, it's never mind that it's not adequate, Carolyn. It's the fact that if we hold back something, maybe we'll get the stuff resolved.
Right. It's the messaging.
It's a twofold. So, you talk about the tile work being complete, and, we talked about it around every one of those water fountains was a half inch short, and you go along the floors of between the floors and the walls, in many areas they're half-inch short. There's pencils down in between them. So, it's a long list. So I tend to think that the 5% is not the right, the retainage is not sending the right message.
No, and I don't disagree with you, Roy. It's got to be held out of their contract dollars. At some point, it's incomplete contract work is really what it is at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
that's just, it's too big.
It's twofold. And I'm not saying all of the 100% here on this list are wrong, but that's the way to get punch lists done, is hold that percentage down to whatever the value, or in some cases, you hold it down to 4 times what the value is, just so you can get their attention and get it done.
Yeah.
So it's
That's why I'd
so
really
we should be paying.
appreciate, I'd really appreciate, going forward, after we've had this long discussion earlier, that every item really be scrutinized now, as far as for the completion, and maybe we do start to scale back a little bit so we know everything is complete.
I think what we'll do is we'll take that open punch list, start with what we have from Perkins and our own, and put dollars against them, and share that information with Geraldine. So when she's looking at the pay rec, there's some commonality there. There's some connection between what these subs are for and what's left on the job.
I appreciate that.
That would be helpful, because as I said, the questions right now are kind of generic. Is there enough money here to finish the work? And I really wasn't considering, is there enough money here to force them to finish the work? So,
And that's really what you're trying to be punitive at this point.
yeah.
If you're
And
trying
I hate to, I mean, the retainage is, in my mind, something different.
Right, because retainage doesn't always cover.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of these subs know they're not going to see their retainage for whatever that length of time is. So it's not a big enough stick for them,
That's exactly right. Yep.
to be perfectly honest.
Well, is this the invoice that we should look at?
I think we have
Approving a
to move
portion?
it forward. Dave, I think we have to move it forward in a positive way with Rizzo, so that I think everyone understands where everyone's coming from now. So, I just think we got to keep moving forward here. So.
Because this is, again, but what we see in all these spreadsheets with the percentage of finish, that the application for payment is stuff that's already done.
I know.
What we're saying is is it done?
Yeah.
Combination of is it done and is the retainage enough to get them in to do whether completing or punch list items, et cetera. But I would agree with Roy. We do want to keep things, we want them to continue to show up and do the work too. So kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I think we have a clear understanding, after this discussion this evening. So, but I don't think we should be holding up payment at this point, based upon the certification that we have on it. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments on, which one are we on? Johnson. Any other questions or comments on Johnson before we take a vote? All in favor?
Reluctantly.
Anybody opposed?
I'm opposed.
Dino's opposed. Okay, and then we're doing Rockwell next. So I'll make a motion that we approve.
Check the amount. Yes,
It's a little different on the approved one. The one is $415,601.23.
415,601.23.
Correct.
Okay. That's what's on the one at the municipal center that's signed and notarized. Okay, I make a motion that we approve application number 21 for Rockwell School in the amount of $415,601.23.
Second.
Roy seconds. And so for me, some of the 100% stuff on here is like way a long time ago done. So, and has many questions on that. I don't know if anyone else has questions, but if we could do the same thing, Jim and Ken, where we're, really honing in on the percentages. So we're not just based on, we're looking at a couple things here where, if a retainage is $2,000, are they going to show up and correct things or finish things, or if you only owe $2,000? So we want to make sure that this is really honed in on how much is really left to complete and whether it's really 100% done.
Correct.
So any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is anybody opposed?
Me.
Dino's opposed, right? And anybody else? Okay. Anything else?
I do not have anything else. I did post up here a copy of the final Weston and Sampson report that John circulated. Just for
Right.
reference. Just for reference.
Yeah, and I think we forwarded it to everyone, so it's not on the agenda for tonight, so do anything with it.
Yep, but just so you know, it's up there if you need it. And I think what I will do is I will also create a new folder on the shared drive for all of the Weston and Sampson information as a separate phase of the environmental work.
Right. Okay, that's good, because everybody needs to review it, because we may need to do something about it at a future meeting. So I think we're done with school stuff. We do have an agenda item, police station project update, which I have something very brief. So if we don't have any other questions for school team, Ken and Jim, you're really gonna need to stick with your schedule. Get stuff done.
Good night and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank
You
thank
too.
you. Have a good holiday.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, too.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye, guys.
So Roy and Bill and John, you stick around. And Dino, sorry. Oh, and Kathy. Kathy wants to get out. So, police station, I don't have much, because the couple things I brought up last time where the roof still leaks over the conference room, and one of the bollards in the back fell over. I saw Chief Pugner last week when he was in the municipal center, and he said it wasn't a light bollard like the ones in the front, that I have to go over and look at it because it's just laying there on the floor. If it's a safety bollard with, one of the concrete filled ones, et cetera, shouldn't be falling over. If it's supposed to stop a car from driving through the building, it needs to be anchored a whole different way. So we're gonna have to find that out. And yeah, well, I don't think those are, because the ones in the front of the building, the ones that go this way are the ones that are supposed to keep cars from driving through. The ones that go this way are the ones with lights in them. So I'm assuming the ones in the back of the building are supposed to keep a car from driving into the building. And if somebody just sort of walked by and, leaned gently on it and it fell over, that's not going to stop a car from driving through the building. But I did email Downs. I haven't heard anything back. I also had a conversation today with Ed Killian from Earth Movers because he's been calling the finance department asking for his money. And finance has said, you got to talk to Downs. And Brad Herring sent me an email and said, could you talk to Ed Killian? I thought, fine, why not? He's a nice guy. Downs owes them a big chunk of money. And I explained how Downs keeps telling Ed that it's us holding the money back when they didn't give us an application for payment till last month. So a year ago, when they were finishing up all the stuff that was problematic, like the flagpole lights and the tactile warning strips, et cetera, once that was done, Downs didn't do anything. They didn't give us an application for payment. They didn't try to get their CO until we asked them right after the COVID shutdown, I think. And they've been in that process. And Chris Baldwin was ready to give the CO. Then he heard about the roof leak, and now I don't know what he's going to do with the CO. They were supposed to Downs was supposed to send a roofer on a rainy day to crawl in the attic to see where the water's coming in and what the problem is. And Pugner wouldn't send one of his officers in on a Saturday because last time it rained hard 2 weeks ago to let up in the attic. So if he's not going to do that on a Saturday, I don't know when the next time it's going to rain. We're going to get snow. Once the snow starts melting, maybe it'll leak. Who knows? All Downs has done is. What's that?
I said, help me, help you. You know what I'm saying? Help me, help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they go and they check everything out and they check and they go, oh, it's fixed now. And they put a ceiling tile in and it takes a couple months for the leak in and show another spot on the ceiling tile. And anyways, that's what's going on there. And the firing range, I don't have anything to tell you right now because I just don't have any further info from the last time. And that's all that's on our agenda except for adjourning, unless you have questions on anything.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
But before we do, before we vote on it though, we should try to do some kind of subcommittee meeting soon about the proposal, the one from Perkins Eastman and the one from STV about additional services. And I'm very strongly opposed to Rizzo getting nothing. I think that their contract was supposed to stop, and if they're the ones that are creating the situation of having to extend it, they've already gotten, every time there's a change order, they get a percentage of that as part of their fee, so they're compensated for. But, the other two have created their schedules and their contracts were based on Rizzo's schedule, and in a way, I think Rizzo ought to pay him, but.
STV seems more realistic, but Perkins Eastman is 240,000? That's
well, because
they added two things, though, John, on that. That's what I was trying to bring out, is that some of it was kind of the previous contract work that they said that they were short on.
Right.
So that's why I was trying to keep it separate.
And again, that's not our problem.
Right. So
not our
we're
problem.
talking about two different things here, John.
Right,
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
So that's kind of what I really wanted to bring out. Really, I think it was only 28 and 60, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
The difference.
Yep.
Oh, to me, they're apples and oranges.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
If you developed a subcommittee, you should just leave all of this with the subcommittee,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Dina's right.
Yeah. Roy, we'll have to figure out sometime.
I'm available. I'm available next week if want to do a quick meeting.
Next
Okay.
week is good for me.
It's
All
good.
right, we'll figure something out.
Next week is, yeah. The
Okay.
21st to the 25th is good for me.
25th?
25th.
Just not the 25th.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, I'm anticipating Santa Claus coming down the chimney and giving me something. I don't know.
a lump of coal.
Yeah. So we'll check with Dave Olson too and see if he's like maybe Tuesday or something like that.
I
after-
heard Dino's getting another motorcycle for Christmas. That's what I heard.
Well, at least I use mine. I haven't seen you out yet.
That's because I don't ride around here. I gotta worry about some of these people like Menti running me over.
Not me, brother.
I gotta go in the back country and ride where there's no cars.
There you
So
go.
are we canceling next Tuesday's meeting? Just so I have to do notice.
Yes, we will cancel our regular meeting because I know John Perna and a few other people said they weren't available that. But if we do something Tuesday afternoon, John, you could possibly that for a
Yeah.
subcommittee meeting?
Yeah,
If we did something maybe 4 o'clock, let's check in with Dave Olson and see if he can do that too. All right, so we're canceling
yeah,
that
that-
second meeting.
And then when would be the next regular meeting where you guys went around and around and I wasn't sure where it ended?
Right, so that the next regular meeting would be that first meeting in January, which was the 12th.
The 5th.
That's on the schedule.
That would be the 5th.
At the 5th,
at the
we took
5th.
on the 5th, but then we said it would be too soon.
Oh, okay.
The 11th.
Yeah,
The
11th or
12th would
12th.
be Tuesday.
Well, because I'm pretty, didn't we say that the 5th would be too soon? We had to try to do
Yeah.
a walk around.
Yes.
Yeah,
correct.
Back again.
so the regular meeting's on the 12th, so you're just gonna keep with the regular meeting.
Do that, yes.
And we gotta kind of coordinate something for that 9th, that Saturday, possible.
Yeah,
I mean, how many people here think they can make the 9th? I know I could.
yeah, I could.
I think I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, who goes anywhere these days? Nobody's going away. Dino's gonna ride his motorcycle and he's gonna go pick up Perna and take him for a ride.
Make-
So Nancy, can you send something out for the 9th?
Yeah, well, I'll send something out and see who can do what time and, if it needs to be Bob, Kathy, you can stop recording. We've already adjourned.
Well, who made the second? You didn't do it. So John?
I
made the
did.
motion. Oh, John.
Nailed it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect.